Kayla, a 38-year-old single mom and high school teacher, has spent years enduring her parents' favoritism toward her sister and her nephew while quietly raising her daughter, Mackenzie, alone after being cut off during an unplanned pregnancy. Fragile reconnection attempts devolve into blatant exclusion, culminating on Christmas Eve when Mackenzie is told she isn't really their granddaughter. Kayla chooses boundaries over blood. She confronts the pattern, drafts a decisive letter, cuts legal ties, and moves with Mackenzie to Austin. 3 years later, they've built a healthy, chosen family and careers that reflect their hard-won peace, while the Boston family unravels. The first call cuts through fluorescent hum and red grading marks. I'm alone in an empty classroom on Christmas Eve, a blizzard of essays fan-stacked beside a chipped mug. My phone vibrates once, then again, then steady. Mackenzie never calls twice. I step into the hallway. The building is a tunnel of vending machine glow and abandoned tinsel. I swipe to answer. Mom? Her voice is wet gravel. Tires hiss on rain. Can you talk? What happened? My throat tightens, already knowing. She tries to inhale. It breaks in the middle. I brought the pie. I brought everyone's presents and Grandma said I'm not, a swallow like glass. I'm not her granddaughter. Silence proves louder than fire alarms. I press my palm to the cinder block wall to study the floor. A clock ticks at the end of the corridor like a metronome set to sorry. Are you driving? Home. Wipers thumped a steady, animal heartbeat. I'm sorry. I tried to stay. There wasn't a chair for me. I ate on the ottoman and then guilt and heat race each other up my spine. My mouth is all steel. Come straight home. No talking to anyone on the way. Text me when you park. Okay. A child and not a child. 17 guarding herself in a red sweater dress. Mom? What did I do? Nothing, I say, and whatever breaks inside me is quiet. You did nothing. Her line goes. The clock keeps time. Somewhere a janitor's radio fuzzes carols. I leave the stack of essays like a snowdrift no one will shovel and run. Out to the parking lot where the asphalt is glossy and the night is a wet lung. Traffic snarls on the pike, brake lights a string of bloody beads. My hands choke the steering wheel. My chest is a drum in a parade I never meant to march. By the time I open our door, the apartment is a still life, the fake tree tilting, the couch indentation, the sideboard with a perfect pie cooling like a small sun. Gifts nested in precise corners. Our life fits in a 3-room diorama, and in the center, my daughter's eyes are swollen moons. Hey, I say, useless and soft. She folds into me like a page into a book. Her hair smells like cinnamon and something young. I tried, she says into my sweater. I really thought, I know. My voice is a hand on her spine. The words have to be the right size or they'll cut both of us. It isn't you. We sit on the floor until the radiator knocks itself old songs. The tree lights stutter and blink and stutter. When she sleeps, mouth parted like a question, I pull a blanket to her chin and just watch. The plan doesn't arrive like lightning. It's quieter than that, a hinge creaking toward yes. My laptop wakes. The cursor blinks in an empty message window. Somewhere in the building, someone laughs behind a door. I think of chairs set and not set. Of names held and not held. I think of the only promise I never learned to break. I start to type. Before the email has bones, the past arranges its exhibits on the table. Memory is good at set design. A tidy split level near Boston with vinyl siding that shone like a smile. A white fence like a chorus line, the grass scissored weakly. From the street, we were the postcard everyone bought. Inside, the composition tilted. Taylor wore the sun like an accessory. Dad's eyes followed it. Mom set out warm cookies, always too many, always enough, except for me. I was a second camera angle. I was applause from the kitchen doorway. When I said teaching, Dad said practical. Mom said neighbors. Taylor said nothing and everything in a smirk. I took financial aid and the cheapest coffee and learned to grade papers with a baby foot in my rib. 2 pink lines under fluorescent light made me lightheaded. A boy with an easy laugh went missing like dew. I came home to a kitchen table trial. End it or hand it off. Keep your head down, they said. Keep our spotless visible. I kept my kid. They closed their wallets and their front door. The night was cold, and the click of the lock became a monument to what people love more than people: appearances, narratives, the power to name something shame. I learned to speak a language without them. Hospitals smell like the inside of a clean breath. When Mackenzie arrived, she wailed a sound that felt like future tense. No balloons. No grandparents. Just me telling a 6-pound human we would figure it out. We did. Part-time tutoring, flashcards instead of bedtimes, pieced together groceries, a second-hand lamp that burned too hot. The apartment had a view of a brick wall with a pigeon who kept coming back to the same ledge. We named him College. There was a card once and signed, on her first birthday. Taylor in a doorway once, wrinkling her nose at the peeling paint, then leaving with her arms still folded around her opinions. Holidays were takeout cartons and bad movies and laughter that had no audience but us. It was enough and not enough. Both can be true. When Mackenzie asked for stories about her grandfather, my body had a reflex. Stretch the truth until it thins. Protect her, even from definitions. But children collect crumbs and bake their own bread out of it. Let's try, I said, and each monthly dinner was a tightrope with no net. Nutshell good behavior, of a ruffled head here, extra potatoes there. Then Cody was born and the room rearranged itself around a plastic booster throne. Money found him easily. Praise attached to him like Velcro. The chair on the end never materialized for my girl. She won a regional writing award. They said nice, with their eyes on a baby monitor. They showed me college bonds in a drawer for a child who wasn't mine. They showed me what mattered by what they bought and what they noticed. They showed my daughter where to sit, anywhere but with them. When my colleague's emergency arrived like a storm, I said yes, because that is the muscle I've developed. Yes to covering shifts. Yes to showing up. Yes to being the adult you needed. The compromise cost, but I tallied it. We would still have Christmas. We always do. We had a pie cooling. We had bows cut straight. We had hope in a red sweater. The night took all of that and taught me a different math. The chair matters. The chair is a thesis statement. The chair is an altar or a border. The cursor blinks. Dear Mom, Dad, and Taylor, I write and keep writing. The first draft is honest. The second is a scalpel. I strip apology. I stack facts. My hands don't shake. The room is very quiet, and then it isn't, because my phone lights the desk like a lighthouse blown off schedule. 37 missed calls, then 38. Voicemails string together a chorus: a mother who pleads in present tense, a father who confuses love with law, a sister who confuses history with innocence. Please, misunderstanding, neighbors, ungrateful, overreacting. The words walk circles in my small kitchen like anxious relatives at a wake. Mackenzie sleeps through all of it. She is practiced at sleeping through noise that isn't meant for her. I hit send before dawn, certified and carbon copy and clean. The subject line is simple: boundaries. The body is simpler, the pattern named without slur, the harm tallied without drama, the condition set without threat. You are capable of repair. We are capable of leaving. Both things are true. At 7, I wake Mackenzie with pancakes, though there's pie within arm's reach. She blinks at the plate, then at me, then at my open laptop. What now? She asks, not afraid, just tired. Now we choose us, I say. For real this time. I tell her about the Austin job the way you tell a person about a story you are both already inside. Warm winters. A writing program with a budget. A district that wants someone to build. A campus with a lit mag that actually prints on paper. Hills that turn gold in the late afternoon. Her eyebrows find a place that isn't skepticism exactly, but it nods to it. Mid-senior year, she says, because she is sane and smart. I show her the on-ramp. Credits that transfer. Counselors who do nothing but migrate kids into new ecosystems. UT within reach of a bus schedule. A studio apartment in a complex with a pool and a maintenance guy named Nacho from the listing. I paint the outline and hand her the brush. She touches the screen where the school crest is a longhorn and a color that isn't ours yet. If we stay, they don't change, she says softly. We just shrink to fit. I nod. I'm too old to fold any smaller. She laughs without teeth. Me too. We draft the second email together. It is hotter than the first and oddly kinder. It thanks them for picnics from a decade ago. It notes specific birthdays they forgot. It names Cody without blaming him for gravity. It closes with a door that is unlocked only from our side. We don't send this one certified. We print it and leave it on the counter. We don't owe the post office our grief. At noon, the sky over Boston stiffens into that pewter color that means weather is deciding something. We pack one box to prove we can. Then another. A drawer that used to be junk becomes evidence of a life. Rubber bands, a dead pen, a Polaroid of us at a park with my hair too short and her smile too big. We keep the smile and throw away the pen. By afternoon, my lawyer friend calls me back. Jordan, I say, and the word tastes like someone who shows up. I want to update everything. Will, beneficiaries, next of kin. On it, she says. No lecture. No therapy. Just the sound of a keyboard. House keys to the right people, she adds, and I smile into that metaphor like a sunrise. Half an hour later, the doorbell rings like Judgment Day. There's a certain choreography to porch confrontations. They never tell you that. How the air feels thinner. How the doorway draws an invisible line you could chalk with your heel. How everyone suddenly performs for houses with windows. My father grips a printout of my email as if paper can carry more weight than what's printed. My mother is already crying because she has always been a rain machine that never floods, only sprinkles the furniture. Taylor looks like a magazine ad for control. High boots, folded arms, a mouth that straightens even when she's smiling. Mackenzie stands at my shoulder, the fatigue burned off her. She is stripped down to the metal. She watches them like you watch a fire to understand its habit. What is this? Dad says, not a question. The word this has teeth. An end to what hurts her, I say. I keep my voice low because volume is a side plot. It was one dinner, Mom says. Her mascara is brave. We didn't mean for her to feel unwelcome. Taylor's laugh slices the cold. This is really about that pregnancy, she says, as if she can push the clock's hands backward with the right sentence. You've been punishing everyone ever since. Mackenzie steps forward. She hasn't rehearsed it. Her voice surprises all of us. You set a table for 6, she says, a plain statement allowed to be lethal. You looked at me and sent me to the living room. Mom flinches. We were waiting for your mother. You weren't, Mackenzie says. You never do. Dad's jaw flexes, an old gym move. We love you, he says, as if love is an umbrella you can open and everyone under it stops getting wet. Love comes with a chair, I answer. And a plate. And a person who knows where you are. Taylor rolls her eyes. You're being dramatic. Mackenzie doesn't blink. I won a writing award. You didn't ask to read it. Taylor exhales through her nose. We've had a lot going on. Cody is a toddler, Mackenzie says, so gently I almost break. He needs different things. I need to be seen. The neighbor's porch light pops on like a stage cue. Voices drift from somewhere down the block. Dad takes a step toward the threshold. I don't let him cross it. The line is a line. For the first time in my life, I am the person who says no in my own doorway. Don't do this, Mom whispers, a script she used when I was 16 and asked to be more visible than the wallpaper. Think of Dad's heart. I think of the night she told me to pack and go while my hands trembled and the porch light made a circle on the walk. I think of my daughter's red sweater and an ottoman she didn't deserve. I think of Austin at the edge of my map like a warm square of sun. We did, I say. We thought of everything. We're choosing differently. The neighbors, Mom tries, clinging to her gods. We're not their problem, I say, and it's the freest sentence I've formed in years. Dad looks past me to where our couch peeks into view, the blanket still folded where Mackenzie slept. His face softens for a breath before it hardens again, a flicker I refuse to make into a miracle. Fine, he says. You're making a mistake. Don't expect us at holidays. I gesture to the empty spot behind me like a magician revealing her one true trick. When have you been there? That does it. They retreat in a cluster of perfume and purpose. Taylor drops the printout on the mat, a flag no one will salute. The door closes with a click that doesn't echo. It lands. It stays. Mackenzie leans into the wood and exhales a life she was done carrying. We did it, she says. We started, I correct, and go pack the good knives. The airport in January is a confession booth. Everyone is leaving something. In line, I memorize the curve of my daughter's ear the way some people memorize prayers. She is all angles and brightness, a long-haired promise standing under a departures board. On the tarmac, snow sulks, but in our gate, the air tastes like possibility and airplane pretzels. We fly toward light. Somewhere over the middle of the country, the cabin dims and the plane hums like an expensive refrigerator. Mackenzie falls asleep with her head against my shoulder, the way she did at 5 in plastic chairs at the clinic and the DMV and the school office. I rest my cheek in her hair and practice a new ritual, forgiveness for myself. For taking too long to leave. For having reasons. For needing one last humiliation to map the exit ramp. Forgiveness is not a pardon, it's a set of keys. Austin greets us with a slant rain that smells like wet cedar. The rideshare driver says y'all and means both of us, and somehow it matters. Our rental has a view of a hill that insists it is a mountain. The pool is empty but blue. The air in the unit is new paint, chemical, and hope. We camp on the floor the first night and eat tacos out of foil like people who chose their lives on purpose. Monday, the district office hands me a lanyard and a project big enough to stand inside of. I listen more than I speak. I watch which kids lean forward when writers are mentioned. I open a room on Wednesdays with lamps and cocoa and rules like be kind and tell it true. The first day, only 3 come. The third week, 10. The 7th, a boy who hasn't spoken in class reads a piece about a grandfather who can't say sorry, and the room holds him with its eyes. Mackenzie walks into her new school like she built it, scared and unbroken. The guidance counselor spreads out transcripts like tarot and pulls the card that says you're fine. In English, the teacher pronounces her last name right on the first try. At lunch, a girl with a septum ring and a smile asks about the notebook covered in stickers. They trade pages, then numbers. By Friday, there's a group chat. By Sunday, there's a late-night text, "You're funny," with a screenshot of a line my kid wrote that makes me want to run a lap around the complex. The email thread from Boston goes quiet, then spikes. "We're worried," says Mom. "Come home," says Dad. "Imagine," says Taylor. I set an auto-reply, "We're unavailable. Please consider repair. Here are resources." It isn't a joke. I include a therapist's directory, a hotline for families dealing with estrangement, an adult children of dynamics group. I am my best teacher self with people who once told me my profession was a hobby. When they don't answer, I remind myself silence is data. One late afternoon, gold puddles on our floor like it belongs to us. Mackenzie steps onto the balcony with a plastic fork and a container of grocery store cake. "We should celebrate," she says. "What?" I ask. "Chairs," she says, grinning. We sit on 2 cheap stools and eat sugar we didn't bake. The wind muses her hair and smears frosting on her lip. I don't cry, not exactly. But somewhere under my ribs, pressure releases. The phone vibrates face down on the counter. We don't turn it over. Section 6 ending almost equals 500 words. 3 years is enough time to rename a life. Our calendar stitches itself with potlucks and recitals and deadlines that feel like invitations. On Thursdays, my office smells like dry erase and coffee. The walls hold student poems printed big. One says, "I am not your quiet." Another, "Blood is water." I learned to swim. The district's writing initiative grows from a binder to a building budget line. At a conference last fall, a woman with a gray bun calls me principal, and I don't correct her. Mackenzie is 20 now, a sophomore with ink on her fingers and a hardback she loves under one arm like a body part she protects. The Lit Journal masthead lists her as fiction editor. When she sends me a screenshot of the acceptance email, the caption is 3 words, "I left the room." In my bones, I feel the chair back scrape, the weight of her standing, the walk toward the doorway into her own life. We don't make a sport of Boston updates. News arrives the way weather does, ambient and sometimes inconvenient. An old neighbor tags me in a photo I don't answer. A cousin's friend mentions a hospital. Someone from high school messages to say Taylor's divorce is messy and asks whether I've seen her GoFundMe link. I type and delete and land on, I hope everyone finds the help they need. It is true. It is the only kind of wishing I can afford for people who refuse chairs. Holidays in Austin are loud without being sharp. Jordan brings gumbo and a kid who color codes his Uno deck. My colleagues tell stories about students who wrote themselves out of corners. The teenagers sneak cranberry fizz into red cups. We light a string of bulbs across the patio and leave the door open to let air in and ghosts out. Someone says grace that is not about God so much as gratitude. We take small seconds and pass plates without performance. There are no ottomans in our dining room. Sometimes, late, when the cicadas drill the night and Mackenzie's laughter floats from a kitchen where she and her friends are frying something badly, I walk to the bookshelf and touch the spine of her lit mag, the one with her voice printed with ink that will outlast us. I think about the girl who ate on the edge of a sofa on a night built to exclude her and the woman she is, leaning on a counter that belongs to her life, not to anyone else's narrative. People online like to call this revenge. It reads better, has more spice. But the truth is smaller and better than that. It is peace. It is the hum of an AC unit in August and the smear of green on your thumb after you pinch basil for dinner, and the fact that my daughter texts me from a campus quad, a photo of the sky stapled to a message. Look. I look. It's blue. It is ours. Every story wants an ending that proves a lesson. I don't believe in that anymore. I don't have to. I believe in practice. In chairs pulled out and plates set and names said right and apologies that don't come with a thesis. I believe in doors, how they're not walls if you put a knob on them and show people where it is. Sometimes people change. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes the best thing you do for a family system is get out of its radius so it can hear its own echo. We did that. We kept walking. The final line is not a threat or an anthem. It's mundane and faithful. It's what I text Mackenzie when she asks what's for dinner and what we're doing this weekend and whether I can read something she wrote before workshop. I'm here. That's the story. That's the promise. That's enough.